The average American adult had sex in the year between 2010 and 2014. That's a decrease from 60 times a year from 89 to 94.
How do we get the sex life that we desire and need?
Why a sex calendar? So this comes from a personal experience from Krissy and myself, is that we were at a place of running around with our kids, basketball practice multiple times a week. Like I said, prayer night, small groups, church stuff, work stuff, working out, all the stuff we just labeled and said. And then at night, we would be so exhausted and literally falling asleep at like 8 o'clock, like laying our kids down and we are just passing out.
Yeah.
And for me, I realized that there's something wrong with me. You realize there's something wrong with you on the health side, not even the sex side. Because for me, I'm like, this
is
isn't
not normal.
This isn't normal. Like, even when I'm tired, I'm like, okay, let's do this.
I'm going to push through.
You know what I mean? But I'm like, I hope we don't have sex tonight. Like, I don't think I said I hope, but I hope she's on the mood because I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And you've been there too. Mm-hmm. And so one completely separate topic, we went on a health journey and getting healthy, trying to figure out why are we both
physically, there was like something physically not right.
Exactly. So have to take care of that because you can put a calendar all together you want.
Right.
But if you're not there.
Mm-hmm. And we've done a podcast about that previously where we've talked about like eating right, physical exercise, doing your best due diligence to take care of yourself, because the reality is that's outside of sex. Like, you need to take care of yourself. Your health matters, right? You want to do things for you, for your family, for your career, whatever it is that like motivates you. If you're not healthy, guess what? Number one, you can't do any of those things. Number two, you are going to expect other people to take care of you in the long haul. And so you have to think ahead of that. And so it's not just get healthy for sex, but this is a part of it.
Yeah, 100%. So we got healthy, but then still it was like, I'm in the mood, I'm ready, but maybe you weren't. And so I introduced to you, and you even said like, this might be awkward, of, let's try a sex calendar. Mm-hmm. And you're like, I don't know, because it's the mindset.
Here is what happened.
Oh, let's hear it.
Let's hear the truth. Is I know my husband, and when he sets goals or when he puts his mind to something, he does it 150%. And so my concern is that, okay, now we have this calendar, life still happens. What happens when that expectation of the calendar isn't met?
Right.
And so I had to have that conversation with you to say like, okay, sure. But what happens when we don't hit that?
Right.
Like, I know that I'm going to see the disappointment in your face, and I'm already struggling with other things, X, Y, and Z that we've, it was health stuff, honestly, at the time. I mean, it still is. We're still on the journey. But it's like, I just know you. Yep. And I had to express my concerns. Yeah. For sure.
And so we're going to get into that later, because that might be your thought right now, is as a husband, as a wife, it's that like, if we do a calendar and all of a sudden something comes up and, like, you have to be flexible, but also understanding, like, and we're going to get into it. Okay. I don't want to jump ahead. Here's a statistic for you guys. Okay. Mm-hmm. The average American adult had sex 54 times in the year between 2010 and 2014. That's a decrease from 60 times a year from 89 to 94. Okay. So we're looking at, that's almost one time a week, which is, for me, like as a married man, like super discouraging.
Well, and I think you need to look at it the opposite way. If that's one time a week, that's 52. Yeah, you're saying 54 times. What is 365 minus 54?
You are asking me about math right now.
Well, it's 300 and it's a little over 300.
Okay.
That's how many times you're not having sex per year. 300 and some days. Like, thinking the opposite of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of missed days.
Right. So see, Krissy just throws this out, like math like that, like I can do it instantly. See, I did other math and I wrote it down because I am not the math dude. So let's say that you go to 2 times a week. Okay. Now you're at 104 times per year. That's double the average.
Yeah.
And that's only 2 times per week.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
2 times per week is 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 times out of 3 days. That still doesn't seem like a lot.
It doesn't. So
and
then
I'm digging myself a hole right now as I'm saying this.
Take notes,
because
babe.
this is going to bite me in the butt.
See, we're all taking notes. Listen, as you're learning, we're learning. Okay, I'm going to bring this up. Like,
I
remember when
know.
you said on the podcast?
I know. This is just another day we're not.
That's it. See, another day we'll never get back, honey. Okay,
Well,
so
don't even get me started with you about not getting married in heaven.
oh man, don't. That's why I'm saying, like, we got to do this now. You know, like there's no go. We got to do this now. Okay, I don't even want to get off on that sidetrack. So let's say 3 times per week. And now to some of you, you're like, hey, we're doing 5 times per week. To some of you, like 3 times per week. I'm looking for once a year. You know, I know. So we're gonna do a separate podcast on that in the future for a sexless marriage and help you out. But 3 times a week, that takes you to 156 times a year. That is 100 more times than the national average. You're doing 100 times more because the national average is 54 times a year.
Yeah.
Now you're at 156. Wow. Hallelujah.
Wow.
God said,
I do
be fruitful and multiply. Right?
Be above average.
A+ student, girl. I ain't trying to get C's.
Yeah, you are.
In college, but not in this marriage. I'm trying to ace this. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah. Well, talking about the misconceptions of like having a schedule, a lot of you might be pushing back right now. Like, oh my gosh, that's too rigid. That's not spontaneous enough. That's whatever words you want to use. But the reality,
not fun.
Right. The reality is like you're not having sex as much as you or your spouse wants to. And I'm telling you right now, a scheduled sex is more fun than no sex.
Yep.
It just is. And so like knowing that, reframing yourself and your thinking in that way. Okay, I need to at least make the time to have the fun. Because here's the reality. The reality is you are not a romantic movie on the Hallmark Channel. That is not your life. It's just not. And so there is not going to be a spontaneous time enough to make a dent in your marriage. So we have to schedule it.
Yep.
And I guarantee, talk to your spouse about it. Would you rather have scheduled sex or the spontaneous sex that we have right now?
That is sporadic. That is very seldom.
Yeah. And so we need to reframe our thinking. And
the 3 S's. It can either be scheduled, it can be spontaneous, or it can be seldom.
Wow.
You just did that. That was you. All right, let's go.
So it might be unromantic, but you have like, I just think like God created us to be so creative like him, right? We are made in God's image. If you can't create spontaneity or whatever you want it to look like within a schedule, I think you're limiting yourself and you're making excuses versus saying, okay, no, what do we really need to do? Because I'm telling you right now, ours is scheduled and it's really fun.
Yeah. Well, think about this. When you plan a date night, it is, you know it's coming up, right? It's not like, oh gosh, we scheduled a date night. It's not spontaneous. It's not romantic.
Right.
No, it's scheduled. We're going to do this. And then you're thinking ahead of time, where are we going to go? Are we going to stay local? Are we going to travel? Are we going to try a new restaurant? Are we going to go by the beach or whatever it is, right? So you're actually thinking about it. It's the same thing with sex. When you are like, okay, it's on the calendar. What is it going to look like tonight or tomorrow night or Wednesday, whenever it is, right? Like, how are we going to do this? What's it going to feel like? Where is it going to be a theme? Is it going to, like you started thinking these different ways, which can, again, it makes it more creative, more fun. And you're able to talk about it with your spouse, just like your date night.
Well, I just think like spontaneous times where we've like gone at it, that's like an emotional thing, right? Which is good. Mm-hmm. Having that like high emotion sex, I think that's what we're talking about. But the reality is like the things that we plan, right? And we've talked about this before. You guys can go back, look at our previous podcasts about like what to bring in the bedroom, what not to bring in the bedroom, and how that can be fun. But it's like you're able to plan those things, and those things are more fun. And you know, once you have like what's it called? Like I almost said treasure box. I'm such a mom of like, these are like our tools and our fun things that we have. Now now it can be fun and however crazy that you want it to be.
For sure.
because you've accumulated these like tools.
Yeah.
I'm going to call them tools.
I like it.
Maybe that's the wrong word, but if that's planned, right? It's there. It's for you to use versus just like, I'm like killing this microphone.
You totally are. I hear it in my headphones
I'm
like
so
crazy.
Sorry. And so I like to talk with my hands, but all I'm saying is like, you have to reframe your brain.
Well,
you have to
also,
think about it different.
Yeah, because what matters gets planned, right? So like you have a plan to go to the gym. You have a plan to go to work. You have a plan to go on a date. You have a plan to spend time with kids.
Like, yeah, no, that's such a good point. Like think about vacation. Like your planned vacation, is that fun or no?
See.
It's more fun than no vacation.
100%.
And the things that you can do within the vacation are all according to like what you want to do.
And if you're going to Disney, you have to plan it.
Oh gosh.
Or it comes at you like a whirlwind and all of a sudden you're in line for 3 hours and didn't see nothing.
Yeah. So at the gym, right? You schedule the gym, but you do different things every single time, right? And so I think you're limiting yourself if you're saying that planned sex is not fun.
Yes. Okay. So let's jump into this because I think we've already hit on this like enough, like it's going to help with your improved communication.
Right.
You're going to talk about it ahead of time. You're going to think about it. You're going to have the discussions. We are talking about it's going to actually help with consistency. If there's one in the relationship that feels like we're not consistent enough or we don't do it enough, this is an opportunity to have the conversation of how many times are we even shooting for?
Yeah.
And then when we're scheduling it, we hold ourselves accountable to that. And then we'll get to the part where, like you said, like, what if we miss it? Matter of fact, let's just do that right now. For me, like, because Krissy was worried that because I am, like 150%, like we're not going to miss this date. Actually, for me as the man, like the more, and I shouldn't say man, because there's some women that are more sexually driven than men. I'm the more sexually driven one in the relationship. And so every night I think we're going to have sex. And that is not going to happen, right?
No, that's not realistic.
That's not realistic. And so when it doesn't happen, but I've been thinking about it since 7 a.m., that's when
No, you wake up at 4 a.m.
Okay.
That's when it started.
Yes. That's where I feel frustrated. But when we actually have it scheduled and we're both tired, something comes up, whatever, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it was scheduled for tonight, but we'll just push it till tomorrow. Like that's where my mind goes versus like, is this ever going to happen? Because when we actually put it on the schedule, like, oh no, I know it's going to happen. And even if it doesn't happen tonight, we'll just do it tomorrow. It's like the gym. If I miss the gym today, I'm going tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's where my mind goes when it comes to scheduling versus just hoping.
Yeah.
That's the difference. We want to help people get to the place of hoping I'm going to be intimate with my spouse to it being like, nope, it's on the schedule. It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But not holding your spouse to such a place where if they miss, they're sick, they're tired, whatever it is, right? Like they're out late, they had a long work day, they're stressed out, they need a massage and nothing else, where we don't get frustrated about it. Because again, this is about creating intimacy. It's like the conversation we've been having that oftentimes, again, for men, but it could be for women too, is that sex is that spot where we as men are most vulnerable, where we get more intimate, where we can talk about things, where there's just like that open communication. And so a lot of times women are trying to get their husband to that spot, but they're not actually doing what it takes for him to get to that spot.
Right. And women, you have to understand, like, if you're frustrated with your husband for not being vulnerable with you, it's that same feeling when we deny them intimacy in this way. You're looking for it verbally and emotionally, but it's you have to see it the same way, right? It's not the same because we're not the same people.
Right.
Okay. That need is met. And so if you're frustrated that your spouse is not giving you that vulnerability and that intimacy that you desire, like during the day, during dates, during conversation, I challenge you, help him, like open that door for him in the bedroom, because that's where the intimacy and the vulnerability is going to come from.
Yep. 100%.
Right? Don't expect him to do it, but then you not do this for him.
That's good.
Or vice versa. Like,
yes,
I don't want to say the him and the her because it is different.
Yep.
And so I'm just speaking because I am the her and this is who I am. But however this relates to you, like whoever you are in the relationship.
Yeah. Well, it's a cycle and somebody has to start it.
Yeah.
Right? Because as that cycle starts going, it's a circle that as I'm intimate with him in the way he desires, he'll be intimate with me in the way I desire.
That's good.